the partnering Pokemon that the Ogerpon's got next to it. So you can get yourself into nice positions, if you are Mikael, where you can potentially take advantage of the Trick Room with the Amoonguss out in the field and threaten things on Giulio's side.
Okay, we've got the leads, though, in this round 8. Okay, it's Golden Go and Instant on Giulio's side. And on Michael's end, it's the Urshifu Rapid Strike and Amoonguss.
Yeah, and the Rapid Strike Urshifu is going to be threatened here by the Fake Out on that Incineroar, which does open the door for that Goldingo to potentially get a nasty plot off here. And that's something you want to try and avoid early on in this match, because if you are able to get the nasty plot up, the Goldingo becomes very threatening very quickly, of course, and you don't really have a straight fire way to remove it very quickly, especially after the Intimidate from the Incineroar, and it has got access to that parting shot as well. Of course, the Amoonguss in a position where it's not really threatening anything other than a Spore potentially into the Incineroar on Giulio's side of the field. So would you sacrifice that in that situation, or would you just Fake Out into it?
Yeah, it's a great question. I would probably go for the Fake Out, honestly. It's just pretty safe at the moment, and maybe go for Terror at the same time to protect yourself from the Urshifu, but we'll see. It is that Surging Strikes, and into the Ogerpon slot. Great switch in from Giulio there, right into that Water Absorb. But yeah, absolutely fearless, though. Straight parting shot into that Urshifu. Not at all worried about that Surging Strikes. Just saying it's just such an obvious target. You're just not going to go for it.
Yeah, you aren't, and it's a nice pivot out as well in front of the Amoonguss with the Goldingo coming back onto the field with that Goodest Gold ability. If the Spore's into that slot, not going to be effective. A really great play here from Giulio, and setting him up in a position where, like you've mentioned before, that Follow Me is an option for him now with the Ogerpon, where you can pull in those Spores, protect the Goldingo. It's not really going to be effective from it anyway, but the thing is you can just pull in those Surging Strikes that you now know that the Urshifu is locked into because it's holding that Choice Band.
So there's that Follow Me to keep this Golden Go really nice and safe. Maybe start setting up some nasty plots, we'll have to see. So yeah, Surging Strikes straight into it again because of that Choice Band. There's no switching up of that at all, and yet there's that nasty plot too. But I think we may have seen, and for some of the more keen-eyed of you there, the Sludge Bomb from this Amoonguss. No Pollen Puff to speak of, and a really nice tech here for Amoonguss because it is over 50% to Ogerpon.
That is huge here for the Amoonguss to have access to that move. The big drawback here is Giulio has been able to set up that nasty plot. It is going to threaten some big damage onto both Pokemon on Mikael's side of the field. Big Make It Rain coming out will do significant damage. Probably not enough to pick up the knockout onto the Amoonguss or the Urshifu, depending on how it's trained. But if we see another Surging Strikes here, it's going to do nothing but heal up that Ogerpon because of that Water Absorb ability.
Yeah, it's a pretty safe option for Giulio, to be honest. Yeah, like it just really keeps it safe, and the Amoonguss isn't worried at all. But the Shadow Ball is just straight up enough to OHKO this Urshifu. That a massive KO there. Sludge Bomb following up, doing obviously a really good chunk of damage. And there's the Poison. We'll have to see if the Poison is enough at the end of this turn to take this down. Let's see, can Ogerpon with it hang on here? Oh, it certainly can. It may be shedding a little bit of a tear there, but it's certainly doing well.
Just hanging on. You can see how important the recovery there was from that Surging Strikes, being able to pull that in, get a little bit of health back, just to be able to survive another Sludge Bomb from the Amoonguss, put it in a position where you can utilize that Goldingo. Now the Ursaluna coming onto the field, going to be in a position to threaten that Goldingo. Obviously a normal type as well, not affected by the Shadow Ball. Will take a significant bit of damage from the Make It Rain though, so that's something you have to be careful of. And potentially going off the Terra type is not something that Michael wants to launch into this turn. Being a Fairy Terra type on the Ursaluna, not really going to help it out in this situation, heading down headfirst into that Goldingo.
Yeah, like, I think you've kind of hit the nail on the head there, Lee. I mean, the Ursaluna can do so much damage, but at the same time, like, it's a +2 Make It Rain from that Golden that could potentially come out here. I think Ursaluna is likely bulky enough to be able to survive it, but not a double up alongside that Ogerpon. So it's a pretty obvious kind of protect from the Ursaluna to kind of stall out that last turn of poison. And it does look like it's actually staying in here as the Amoonguss, which is very slow, is actually switching out first.
Yeah, going to just retreat for a little bit later on. We do see the protect from the Ursaluna as the Tornadus comes onto the field, and it does leave the options open. We are going to see a Follow Me from the Ogerpon. Not really going to be effective this turn, not pulling in any attacks, but it does leave that Goldingo to get another nasty plot. Great choice of option here from Giulio, not opting for an attacking move, but opting to further increase that special attack power that this Ghost and Steel-type Pokemon now has got on the field.
Yeah, it's looking really threatening now. +3, but the Tornadus is now in here, so really interesting to see if Mikael can actually have enough speed on his Ursaluna that in the tailwind it might actually be able to outspeed the Golden Go. But even if that was the case, Giulio now does switch in the Tornadoes of his own. So that is going to at least be able to match Tailwinds here and severely threaten this Ursaluna. And with the Ursaluna being burnt as well, it's kind of a bit of a timer. So the longer that Mikhail spends kind of protecting and trying to get around this Golden Go's attacks, the more it's getting chipped down by the burn, and the more it will put itself in range for a potential knockout from a Make It Rain.
Yeah, Mikhail is in a really tough position here. Yes, you can match the Tailwind. Giulio switching in at that Tornadoes to make sure that the speeds are equal going into this next turn. If that's what both lock into, neither have option to taunt the other one. If that is a risky play though, if you want to go for that, but we're not going to see that. Ursaluna kept for later, going to bring in that Amoonguss once again. Has it got the capabilities to take a Make It Rain if that's what Giulio decides to launch out with a Tailwind this turn?
Well, people have believed in Amoonguss for many, many years so far, Lee, so I'm going to say yes, it's going to survive. Does it? No, it doesn't. It goes straight down. Eating my words completely here, but the focus sash on Tornadoes is enough to be able to let it survive with a slither of hit points there. And now Golden Go does take a special attack drop, but it's still at like +3 special attack. Icy Wind, though, coming out this time is going to be able to kind of help battle against the speed interactions between the two Tornadoes and help make a little bit of a difference. Critical hit on the Golden Go. Not making a huge amount of difference right now, but still that speed drop could be crucial in the later game.
Yeah, and I really like this play here because I think that the Icy Wind, you could have just matched the Tailwinds there, but knowing what the situation was, okay, there's no taunt pressure on the opposite side of the field for Mikhail, where he is able to get that Icy Wind off, drop the speeds on Giulio's side of the field, now in a position where he can Tailwind himself, and hopefully, depending on how that Ursaluna is trained, and might be able to get the jump on the Goldengo, which is such a big threat here. Problem is, though, if the Tornadoes is left alone on Giulio's side of the field, it's an easy way for him just to click that Bleak Wind Storm. If it connects, it's going to be able to remove the Tornadoes on Mikhail's side of the field, take it down to 1 versus potentially 3 Pokemon in this situation.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. Like, Ursaluna, as soon as you give it any room, it is taking KOs. Like, it's so strong with that guts boosting, thanks to that burn that it does have, thanks to the Flame Orb as well. So, like, you've really got to respect its damage potential output here. So, we're still yet to find out what the exact training of this Ursaluna is, as to whether it's going to be outspeed, whether it's going to be able to take the hit, or whether it's going to be able to take a KO.
We are going to see the Incineroar take the place of the Tornadoes this turn, drop and Intimidate on to the Ursaluna and the Tornadoes here, and have access to that fake out this next turn if it can get through. We are going to see the Terastallization, though, from one of our trainers. Where will it be? It is into the Goldengo, and it will be Terastallizing into that Fairy Terror type, giving it a bit more of an immunity, I guess, from those ground-type attacks that threaten from the Ursaluna on Mikhail's side of the field. Tailwind coming out from the Tornadoes here, going to support that Ursaluna going into this turn. And will it move first? It is the Headlong Rush. Has it got enough to take down the Goldengo after the Intimidate? No, it hasn't. Great play here from Giulio.
Yeah, really, really good play, honestly. Like, completely safe. Make It Rain, though, it is definitely not something this Ursaluna is safe from at all. It gets a double KO, finishing off this game 1.
Yeah, the Goldengo here has just dominated from start to finish. Giulio really taking all the opportunities and, you know, using them so wisely in this match to set up nasty plots. There's so many times where he could have just clicked the Make It Rain button, clicked the Shadow Ball button, but choosing not to, choosing to go for those nasty plots, ensuring that he is set up for that late point in the game where he knows he's going to be able to lock out, clear up everything on the field. And I feel like it picked up pretty much most of the knockouts in that last game as well.
Yeah, and that's what we've seen, like, Golden Goes do throughout the course of today completely. It's been supporting it with the Incineroar and the Follow Me's from the Ogerpon to get up those nasty plots and just kind of sweep teams. So there's not a lot of Pokemon that can resist both that Make It Rain and that Shadow Ball very well at all. So Mikhail's got to have to really look at the board state at the moment as to what he's got to be able to deal with that. And I think what really slowed him down in that game 1 was the fact that he led his choice band Urshifu into the Ogerpon, which could just safely follow me everything away. So yeah. I think he's got to really think about that a little bit more, maybe commit to the close combat a little bit more, or maybe lead something else that could threaten this Golden Go, namely the Roaring Moon. Being able to take the Shadow Balls very well. It could take Ogerpon's like same type attack bonus attacks very well as well, and can really start to set up on its own and become its own threat, which Giulio hasn't been needed to even like respect on Mikhail's end.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think with that Roaring Moon, it does really threaten with the acrobatics, the big damage onto some of the big components that Giulio side of the field. I think the other thing that you could look at as well is maybe the Trick Room option. You don't really want to be matching the Tailwind, I think, because we saw the speed interactions there, but you're having to rely on getting the tailwind up, then utilizing the icy wind. That's 2 turns that you're spending with Tornadus just going for that speed control. If you bring out something like the Indeedee, prevent that fake out support from the Incineroar, you've probably got enough defensive capabilities to take something like the Make It Rain. I think the one thing that you do have to worry about is the Urshifu, the single strike variation. But if you get your Trick Room up and you get your Ursaluna in a Trick Room environment, I feel like you're going to be in a much better position to start really taking pieces away from Giulio to tie this matchup to take it to a game 3.
Let's see if they take your advice, Lee. As we head into game 2, it is the Urshifu and Tornadus. So a little bit of a switch up for Michael's end, and Incineroar and the Ogerpon Wellspring for Giulio.
Yeah, and as you see here, not opting for the Trick Room or the Indeedee this time, but going for the speed with that Tornadus. It has got access to the Tailwind here, and then that Choice Bandit Urshifu. But in a bit of a similar situation as it was in that game 1, where the Ogerpon Wellspring is on the field, and it is threatening to go for that Follow Me, pull in those Surging Strikes, and just render them useless this turn. Of course, on top of that, you've got to contend with the Incineroar. It's got Active Fake Out this turn. It can shut down the Tailwind on the Tornadus. It can shut down the options that the Urshifu decides to go for here, so making it very difficult. And if you get faked out from that Incineroar into your Ogerpon, into the Urshifu, sorry, you can take a big Horn Leech as well for your trouble.
Fake Out is coming out into the Urshifu, as you telegraphed there, Lee. Bleakwind Storm, though, absolutely free to get some massive damage on that Ogerpon there. Just about clinging on as the Horn Leech goes into the Urshifu as well as a double up. But look at the trading on these 2 water types, being able to shred off those attacks very well, as the Urshifu then takes its flinch turn, notably going after the Ogerpon.
Yeah, and the big thing there is that the Tornadus being able to get that Bleakwind Storm off, doing some huge damage, in particular to that Ogerpon. The Horn Leech, nice, because it is really just topping its health back up, but probably is in range now of another Bleakwind Storm. It is a bit risky going for it. Of course, it can miss when the rain's not on the field, but able to potentially switch it out this turn. It does leave that Urshifu in a position where you can potentially get some advantage here with it, because if that Ogerpon is forced in a position where it has to protect here or switch out, it does free up the Urshifu to potentially do some big damage to the Incineroar or to anything that's coming in that slot on Giulio's side of the field.
So yeah, you can see where Michael is doing here at the moment. The Bleakwind Storm is going for it. Was probably enough to KO the Ogerpon, and then you follow up with the Urshifu with the Surging Strikes. Simple. But looks like Giulio sees this coming, goes for that Terror on the Ogerpon, as we've seen across this weekend so far, taking away that flying type weakness and boosting its special defense even further to be able to take that attack so well. So there you can see Ogerpon now does survive. Citrus Berry healing up Incineroar a little bit more. We'll have to see where this Urshifu ends up targeting, but it's going to be that Ogerpon notably going first with the Ivy Cudgel, boosted by that Terraslation Mask. No tears for this Ogerpon, but more so for this Tornadus, as it takes almost the entirety of its health down to that Focus Sash.
Huge turn here from Giulio, getting that Tornadus down on that Focus Sash. The Surging Strike, though, coming out finally from the Urshifu now. The Water Absorb isn't an option into the Incineroar, picking up a knockout. Mikael taking a lead in this game.
Yeah, finally the lead that he really wants here. Like, there's no Golden Go yet, but Giulio may have it in the back. And it looks like he's brought in his Tornadus here to be able to start setting up some speed control, maybe supporting it if it is indeed in that back at the moment. And it's probably a good idea too, because at the moment, you know the Ogerpon outspeeds the Urshifu. You can kind of target it down this turn if you end up going for that Tailwind. Tornadus on Mikael's end can't go for the Tailwind and the Bleakwind Storm at the same time. To be able to, it's one or the other at the moment. So you may want to like either preserve the Tornadus or maybe go for the last-ditch Tailwind to support what you maybe have in the back.
Yeah, the other option is you could just, knowing what Mikael's brought in the back, you could go for a Bleakwind Storm here. Just get some damage off. Clear things on the field here and allow your 2 remaining Pokemon to come in. If they are capable enough to potentially get themselves set up into a position to take advantage of the Tailwind, if it is namely that Trick Room that we have seen Mikael have in the back here, just maybe let these Pokemon go down and let those Pokemon come in and start really capitalizing from that perspective.
So it is going to be the Protect on this Tornadus, keeping itself safe for at least this turn. Perhaps letting Urshifu do its thing for one more turn. Yeah, and as it's going to be taking this Ivy Cudgel not very well with that amount of health and going down this turn. So a little bit of a board positioning turn for Mikael, kind of removing the Urshifu, saying maybe it's done its job, to be honest. It's there for the Incineroar, probably, to be honest, to be able to hit a fire type with a lot of damage. But yeah, good call here. As we can see, see, it's actually that Trick Room option in the back. So maybe a Tailwind is not really the play for the Tornadus at the moment. So let's see if Giulio has maybe seen this coming or not.
Yeah, and this is the nice thing about the Indeedee now. Going to come onto the field and set up that Psychic terrain. And under a Psychic terrain, of course, all priority attacks are blocked on the opposite side of the field for the duration that it's active. The nice thing about the Indeedee is, as well, it does have access to that Trick Room. So if it can get that set up, puts itself in an advantageous situation where it will be the fastest thing on the field in front of these Tailwind Pokemon on Giulio's side. So Giulio going to have to try and potentially double in with a Bleak Wind Storm and an Ivy Cudgel and hope it is enough to pick up the knockout onto this Indeedee. If not, we may see a Trick Room set up and we know what is lurking in the back once that Tornadus goes down. The thing is, as well, Mikael can take advantage of as the Bleak Wind Storms, try and get these off, get as much damage as he can off now. So when the Ursaluna comes onto the field, it's not got as much work to do.
But it looks like the Rain Dance plus Ivy Cudgel might actually do a little bit more damage this time. So Terra and Rain boosting this damage for incredible numbers. Yet it gets the one hit KO on this DD absolutely down and out.
That is a huge turn for Giulio. Going for the Rain Dance, a really great play here just to boost that Ivy Cudgel damage and ensure that it is enough to pick up that Trick Room threat from the Indeedee, render it useless, allow this Ursaluna to come onto the field, which is not in the best of positions.
No, it is not, Lee. I think we may need to see this Ursaluna go for the Terra to kind of remove that ground type, like, weakness, basically. Or, like, its ground type to remove the weakness of the water, obviously, for this Ogerpon here. It will still probably take a huge ton of damage with the Rain and the Terra boosting it up, but at least you'll be able to take that hit. You'll have that normal type Terra on the Ursaluna and be able to dish out that damage straight back again, perhaps with an Earthquake to take the Ogerpon down, or maybe at the facade to take the Tornadus down here. So it's going to be an uphill battle, honestly, for Mikael, especially depending on what is in the back.
Yeah, it's a very difficult situation because so easy for Giulio just to click that Bleak Wind Storm, and now the Rain's up. You know it's going to connect with both targets on the opposite side of the field. Connects with the Tornado, it's going to be able to take it down there. Connects with the Ursaluna, it's going to do some good damage, probably put it in range, even if it does terrestrialize, like we're seeing here, into that Fairy Terror type. The Ivy Cudgel under the Rain, probably enough to pick up the knockout onto this Pokemon, close this game up, but we'll have to wait and see how this plays out.
Yeah, actually the Terra Fairy, I misspoke earlier, is not the normal that we often see, so a little bit more of a defensive Terra here. So let's see if where this Ivy Cudgel is talking. It's not the Tornadus, it is into that Ursaluna, so this is probably honestly going to do quite a lot of damage, and with a critical hit as well. This Ursaluna, having just got onto the field, just terrored, goes straight down again.
The Ogerpon not messing around in this game, not wanting to even contemplate taking an attack from that Ursaluna, getting the critical hit. Really unfortunate for Mikael, but Giulio playing this perfectly, pinning Mikael in here, using the tools he has available to him, denying the Trick Room, and closing things up with the Ogerpon and this Tornadus.
Fantastic. Giulio Tarlao is the winner of this round 8.